Basically, it's a 2x4 framework with some casters. So 6 of them, I think, under here, dotted about the place, so I can move it around, shift it, which is really handy. These are the second set of casters I've put on it. The first lot weren't really rated enough, and the blue rubber on them, as it were, just wore out, came off, almost like having a puncture. But these ones, touch wood, have been pretty good. I think they're rated at 120 kilos each, which is probably why, because the other ones were not as much as that. Yeah, so basically it's multifunctional. If I do stuff, I try and make it multifunctional, do more than one thing. Just this thing, I just like doing it. So this, what we've got in here, we've got a table saw up one end, miter saw, a router, and a planer thicknesser. So I'll go through each one of them and see where I did it. So the top piece, basically an 8x4 sheet of plywood, just over 2.4 meters, just over 1.2 meters wide. A cheap Parkside, which is a little thing. Table saw. I took the standard fence, made this fence. It's got pockets for my bits and pieces. It's adjustable. I've got this rail system, so I can move it around and alter things on, and it runs the length. I've got if I move the miter saw out of the way, I can put long pieces in and run the length of the table. The miter saw is mounted on a platform which just pulls out, and then it gives me a clear run. If I shift this hose, if I move that hose, it gives me a clear run of the full length of the table. So if I'm chopping down or whipping down long pieces, I can do it. The problem I was having was too many tools basically scattered all over the place. It's not a very efficient way of working, so I thought, well, I had to look around, see what other people were doing, get some good ideas, see how people were doing it and perhaps not doing it right. Knock this thing up together, and it's been really good. It does exactly what I wanted it to do, which is fantastic. It didn't take that long to do, it wasn't that expensive to do, but it's made me a lot more efficient in the bits and pieces that I do around the house. So yeah, if you like this kind of thing, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll try and make more useful stuff. I'll get better hopefully as we go on, and hopefully everyone finds this appealing. I'm not trying to teach you how to suck eggs. This is the way I do it. If you've got any better ideas, then let me know. Every day's a school day. So the miter saw, Evolution miter saw, I quite like the Evolution stuff. It's reasonably priced and seems to do everything I want it to do. Basically mounted to a couple of bits of scaffold pole. This saw, I've got the portable bench that goes with it, and it just literally, you lift these off, it unclips, and you can clip it onto a table saw and take it outside. So I made a little tray mounted on some runners there, some drawer runners, bit of scaffold pole, perfect size for that to clamp to. So this is removable. I made it move in and out, as you see, or as you saw, to allow me to run big bits of timber on the table saw. And then this is the fence for when I'm cutting any sort of long bit of timber. Literally I can just clamp it in there, and this allows me to G-clamp a bit of block wood there. If I'm cutting out a load of stuff the same size, I can just put a stop in, clamp that, and then just buzz them all out the same size rather than keep measuring each individual bit. And that fence is plenty long enough for like a 2.4 or even a 3 meter length of timber. I can rip that down to whatever I'm doing with it. When I did this, I also needed storage, so I made these drawers. They're soft close. I can keep all my saw bits, circular saws, some more Evolution stuff in there, router bit stuff. It just keeps it out of the way. So I did 5 on this side. I was going to do some this end, and I still may, but I kind of didn't want to get too carried away building what I thought I might need, rather than wait and see what I actually needed. So this side is full of Ferrex stuff. This is Aldi's brand of stuff. I quite like it. It's reasonable quality, it's cheap. The batteries are like 25 quid each for that stuff. 3-year guarantee. What more could you ask for? So a few bits and pieces in there. Coming around this side, I've got at the end of the table, I've got a Triton router. I've had a couple of routers in the past. I've still got them, I still use them, but this one I really like. I'm really happy with this. Or that on its own makes it worth it. I've got a cheap flush plate off of Amazon. Again, some more of the rail, because what this allows me to do is this fence unbolts, and if I undo this one here, I can lift it up. This is going to get messy one-handed. I can lift it up, and then basically that one stays where it is. This one pops out. Slot it in this side, and then I may or may not be able to do this one-handed, but let's see. There we go. And then lob the nuts on. And now I've got a fence for my router, which has proved time and time again to be a brilliant piece of kit. We've got an old house, and skirting boards are easy enough to get, but the architrave goes around the doors. We've got a lot of rotten bits of timber in it, so I had to make them. They're kind of this kind of profile. Ignore the bottom bit, we're just looking at the top bit. It's quite hard to kind of buy that. I couldn't find it anywhere, so it was easier to make it. And I started off with my little router, but then I thought, no, I can't be doing with that, so I got this one, and this changed my life. That thing made it so much easier, especially when you're making like 2 or 3 doors at a time, inside and out. So yeah, that works really well. I've got a pipe on here for the vacuum extraction, and also on this side, which is connected underneath there. Just keeps the dust down, sucks it through there. Goes over to my little dust extractor over in the corner there. Cracking, having a router, who knew? So much bits and pieces you can get done with it. It's really good, so that works quite nicely. The first router, little bench thing, it was a little metal thing I had these, on which, that way around, they're okay, but a lot of the timber, I don't know what it's like where you are, but here in the UK, a lot of the timber we get is pretty ropey. Got a lot of bends and twists in it, so I knocked this up. This is one of the wheels, the old wheels that I had. About the only thing it's been useful for, really. And that just clips in there and allows me to adjust it and get a bit more downforce without any friction. That these, if you clamp these too tight, I find it quite hard to push it through. And when you're doing something a little bit fiddly, like the architrave, the last thing you want is a great big gouge out of it halfway through, and then you wreck the whole piece. So I do still use these, but if I'm doing anything a little bit more technical, that just, because it's got a bearing in there, it just allows the piece to run underneath the router a bit nicer. And there we go, that's my router table end. And then the last bit of, say, permanent kit mounted to this table is my planer. A couple of catches here. Move these out of the way. Give this a go one-handed, it's a bit of a heavy brute, but that spins off. And then lock that one in. Sorry about the shoddy camera action. And there's my planer. I can run big long pieces in there because I've got the full length of the bench. Because it's on wheels, the bench, if I am butting against the shelves here, I can move the whole thing that way. Same as when I'm using the router, I can shift it this way, put it at a bit of an angle to get a long piece in. Dust extraction goes on now. I tried to make these just a little bit proud of this bit. There is a little bit of flex in it, a little bit, but it seems to work fine. I haven't had any problems with this yet, and I've put, as you can see by the wear on it, I've put loads of it through it. I thought perhaps it might wreck this, but actually, because this has been a little bit higher, it seems to take the brunt of it, and that works really well. Really happy with that. It's a great bit of kit, that thing. Again, another Triton piece. It just being able to take that even or uniform plane off of something you're making, it makes a lovely job. And then when I'm finished using it, unclip these 2 sets, spin it round. It just pivots. There's a metal pole, and I made some sort of bosses out of oak. Try and give it a bit more strength to the thing. I've just shifted these this morning, and then that gives me back the whole width of the bench, rather than having a planer sat there permanently that's in the way, or if I mount it to the side when you're not using it, it's in the way. When you are, it's the best thing ever. But obviously that folding out the way, I've got the best of both worlds now. Got a permanent place for it, a nice bench to put it on, and when it's not in use, I can still use the real estate there for setting stuff out. That's pretty much the gist of this thing. It didn't take that long to do. Like I say, it's just 2x4s screwed together, sorting the wheels out, finding the ones that suited me best was probably the longest bit. My son's been out here playing. Dust extraction again, that's for the table saw. I just built like a sump underneath it, because it does make a lot of mess. Kind of a sump. That's a version 2. I'm still not quite happy with that one, but it empties most of it out. And then dust extraction up here into a cyclone with a barrel and an old vac hoover. Very rarely gets anything in there at all, only when that's kind of full to the brim. Little cyclone off of Amazon again, some bits of pipe, and I basically pipe the whole workshop. So I've got outlets on every wall. And there we go, that's my workbench. That's where the magic happens. Table saw, always find something to push it through. This thing, I want to push it through, or something bigger, I can close that off. It just keeps your fingers well away from the business end of it. It's evolving. When I find I need something, I make it. Originally this didn't have the little pockets, but being able to put your pencils to set square and tape measure and things, and obviously some manky old gloves, it's just quite handy. I spend a lot of time working here for some reason rather than the big area. I think it's just because it's nearer the door. It's got power on it. There we go, a bit of plywood, some 2x4, bit of imagination I suppose, and a few accessories. And that is my workshop, table, workbench thing. Thanks for watching. A little note on my dust extraction. What I've tried to do here, again, this is a kind of a work in progress. I found with just that pipe connected, you get an awful lot of mess chucked all over here. So I made this kind of shield just out of a bit of a pipe really. Another bit of pipe here, and put a T-piece on. My thoughts were that it would catch it here and get rid of a lot of it, because it doesn't all just end up in like the shield here, so it doesn't all disappear, it kind of goes everywhere. So that's a work in progress. It's been marginally successful. As you can see, there's a little bit here. It still does. If you're doing a lot, you end up with a fair pile. So it's catching some of it, but not all of it. I suppose the real answer would be to put a massive shield around the whole thing and just have one point, but I like the flexibility of this, and because I use it for more than one thing, being able to just slide it forward. I think a big cumbersome shield would restrict using the table saw, but yeah, work in progress. We'll figure it out. There we go. hopefully this is, oh there we go, happy days. External microphone, empty box. I've splashed out, I've gone completely bonkers and gone for an action camera. Yeah, I was looking at all the, God, there's so much choice to choose from for this kind of thing. What I did want to do is invest too deeply in something that perhaps wasn't right, so I thought I'll go down the cheap or cheaper route. I think this one was about 150 quid, but as a budget camera it got quite a lot of good feedback, and hopefully this will get me going and be a lot easier than doing everything one-handed, because it's painful for you, I don't doubt, but it's painful for me as well. So this is an Acaso Brave 7. The only downside I heard about this camera was the microphone's a bit shocking, hence this thing. Yeah, so I got this, and my idea is I'm going to fix it to here somewhere, because I don't need this to be waterproof. It'll only be if I drop it in a puddle. I've no intentions of going diving, anything like that. What have we got there? Instructions. If all else fails, read the instructions. USB, some sort of spanner gizmo, and then we've got, what's this? Ah, that's the remote control. This I thought was a good idea, because when I'm on the bike I won't know if the camera's on, so I figured that might be useful. This is to stop wind noise, I believe. And then what do we have here? A couple of batteries, so it's got 2 batteries, which is always good. Loads of clamps, sticky bits, wrist strap for the remote mount. Hopefully there's something to mount it to my person, or else I'm going to have to get some sort of chest mount. But yeah, there we go. I'm guessing there's going to be a charger thing up for God knows how many hours first. Lots of accessories. I don't know what hardly any of this lot does, but I'll get this indoors and do a proper unboxing. But I wanted to see what the postman bringeth. So there we go. Hopefully a little bit better footage in the future. Just a note, why is it when you buy something and you put it back in the box, it doesn't fit? And I know it come out of this box. You've just watched me get it out of this box, and yet that had something inside it. But even then, what happens? And then how am I supposed to get that in there? Minor things, first world problems, I suppose. All right, let's get this indoors and have a proper look, see what we're dealing with.